Hey, what's up everyone? Richard here, and welcome. In this video, we will be discussing the updates made to the perk decks as of August 19th, 2015. I will be going through every change made and discuss how this will affect your gameplay experience. The footage in the background is me using the Muscle perk deck on Bank Heist and the Gambler deck on the Diamond Heist. Both decks I thought received very drastic improvements in this update. First up is the final card in the Crew Chief deck, and it will now also grant a 8% reduction to damage if your crew is taken a hostage. This effect will not stack if you have more than one hostage, however. While this is not a huge improvement on its own, this, along with the increase in health and armor from the deck, will make your crew noticeably more resilient. Muscle sees a rather drastic change to its playstyle, the final card again receiving the amendment. In addition to boosting your health by 40%, you will now regenerate 4% of your health every 5 seconds. While the health regeneration won't be as rapid as Grinder, it does allow you to use the perk deck more aggressively, as you can slowly regain any health you may have lost. The Armorer deck has 3 cards modified. The first, third, and fifth cards all have their effects doubled, granting 10% increased armor each. As a whole, this nearly doubles the effectiveness of this deck, as you go from an overall armor bonus of 20% to 35% with the update. Like with the change to the Muscle deck, this allows armorers to play a bit more aggressively. The Rogue deck is the first deck to receive a nerf in this update, having its first card's effectiveness cut in half, granting only a 5% increase to dodge as opposed to 10%. While this will mean you will take a bit more damage, most players shouldn't find this too big of an issue, as you can still dodge most of the incoming fire despite this change. Crook, on the other hand, receives a mostly positive mixed bag. Its only real detractor being a reduction to the first card's dodge bonus, bringing it from 10% to 5% like with Rogue. Those using Ballistic Vest will see an increase in their armor by up to 65% with the deck fully leveled up. Both Basic and Advanced Composure will add 20% to your Ballistic Vest armor, while Expert will add 25%. This shifts the deck from a mostly dodge to an intermediate deck, allowing for mixed playstyles to take advantage of this perk selection. Infiltrator sees a very big buff in this update. All of his close combat abilities now take effect when in medium range, and all damage reduction for Basic, Advanced, and Expert close combat is doubled from 4 to 8%. Damage boost for melee attacks now last 7 seconds instead of 6 as well. Finally, Life Drain now regenerates 20% of your health and it has a cooldown of 10 seconds as opposed to 15. While melee is still far from perfect, this deck gives players the option to experiment with some melee combat. Sociopath as well opens up possibilities for a melee-only build, having all of its close range abilities extended to medium range, allowing for a greater area of effectiveness. Tensioned and Overdose now regenerates 30 armor as opposed to 10, and has a cooldown of only 2 seconds. Clean Hit also regenerates 10% of your health and now has a cooldown of just 2 seconds. The final change with Showdown increases the probability to make an enemy panic from 20% to a staggering 75%. Gambler's changes are very simple, yet also very powerful. Ammo packs will now heal 8 to 12 health by default, and more healing 1 and 2 will increase this by 4 points, rather than just 2. Your crewmates will now receive the full healing effect rather than just half of it from ammo pickups. While Gambler, prior to this update, was somewhat effective, this makes it much more competitive for players who aggressively hunt down ammo pickups. Finally, Grinder sees some much needed balance. The first card now only heals 1 point of health every half second, however the duration of this effect is extended from 3 seconds to 5. This can, however, only occur once every 1.5 seconds as opposed to every second. The Adrenaline card, Endorphins, Dopamine, and Euphoria all see their healing abilities reduced by 1 point. However, their duration is increased from 3 to 5 seconds, with the exception of Euphoria, which sees it increased to 6 seconds. Overall, I think this patch will see the increased use of both heavy armor and medium level armor, thanks to the changes in Armorer, Muscle, and Crook. We will also likely see more experimentation with melee weapons, thanks to the huge overhaul Sociopath and Infiltrator received. While dodge as a whole did receive a nerf, it wasn't to the point of ruining the mechanic, and will likely still remain very popular. However, players who prefer the consistency of armor now have a bit more freedom than they did before. My only major concern really with this patch is the lack of attention given to Crew Chief. While it did receive a slight increase in effectiveness, overall, the deck seems rather weak and poorly compensates players who like to use this over more selfish decks such as Sociopath and Muscle. Gambler seems to be the best team-oriented deck, as it can quickly restore a wounded crew's health with only a handful of ammo drops. It also fairly compensates the player who uses it, letting them also share heavily in the healing bonus. That pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to talk about today. Thank you guys very much for watching. My name, as always, is Richard, but until next time, farewell.